Got it. Okay. Well, anyway, so I'm going to start the meeting. So everybody else is going to have to log in, and then I will make, who's doing it? Neil Wallace? Okay, so Gail Trantham's in, Dave Rice is in. Okay, I'm going to get off the phone with you. Tell Neil Wallace if he's doing this, he needs to log in and I'll make him host.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Hey, guys.
Hello, I'm sorry that you had trouble logging in. I don't know if it's because of the new UU class. So I'm going to stay in and to make sure everybody gets in right.
Okay, well, I bailed out of the link you had on the thing for just today, and I went to the website and came in through the Roundtable link that's there.
Well, what do you mean? What other?
I don't know. I don't know if it's the same link or not, Sherry, but that's why I got in.
I'm sorry, and I'm looking at you like I'm looking at you.
I went to the regular check-in. Go ahead.
The link for this, for Roundtable, is different than the, I'm sorry, I'm trying to start my video and my mouse isn't working. So it's like, maybe it's just as well. But anyway, what I was trying to say, I don't know why the Roundtable link wasn't working right.
Okay,
Well, mine was okay. Mine was okay.
You got in okay.
Yes, I did. I'll ask Charlie to come here and see if he can get on.
This is Dave Steele. Is that you, Sherry?
It is me. I'm sorry. My mouse is not working right. I was trying to put my video on. But
Okay. You know, I just tried to get in through the website, and yeah, I guess this is probably a Lynn Pearson thing. But boy, you just really have to hit several different clicks. You click on the join by Zoom, and it takes you to a master list of Zooms, and then you have to search through that, and that list didn't have. So I really think that we need to do some streamlining of our navigation from the website.
well, and that is definitely a link
David,
one.
Charlie is coming here.
Good. And I apologize that you had trouble. I don't know, does Neil, does Chris usually run the meeting for you guys on the Zoom part or what?
No, everybody just logs on by themselves.
Okay.
Charlie and I switch off on hosting it depending upon the month.
So the link that was in the order of service, do you think that was what the problem was? You want me to send another link out?
I ended up using the link in the order of service, the most recent one you sent.
Okay.
Was that maybe yesterday? And it
Friday.
worked fine.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay, here's what I think happened. The new UU class had a Zoom link, and maybe it conflicted with this, even though I don't know that Nancy was able to get in to use it. So anyway, but so I apologize you had trouble. I don't know. I think it might have been that. So I'll have to look on that and see if we have to put them on a different Zoom link.
Well, and I mean, I'm really surprised not to see more people on for this particular topic, because we have a lot of people who are really interested in NAACP and our relationship with that organization. And I don't see our speaker on here.
I don't see
either.
our speaker either. So let me go to my email and check and see if anybody has sent me an email.
No, I'm in contact with her. I'm going to call her back right now. Nobody could get in.
Yeah, I think everybody was having trouble getting in, and I'm going to send the link out again to the church. So let's see. I know that Susan told me she was having trouble, but before I log out, because I think it's easier if I log out to do this.
Yeah.
Dave, can I make you the host then?
Why don't you make Charlie the host?
Okay, I'll make Charlie the host then. Okay.
Hello?
It seems like we got it figured out. Can you try to log in again?
Certainly, I will try right now, sir.
Thank
Do you
you.
want to hang on or you want me to just call? I'll call you back if I have any trouble.
That sounds like a winner. Thanks much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and of all things,
You'd think after 2 years that
You would think so, but you'd think my computer would cooperate, but I have no mouse. So it's like I try to do everything on the little screen, little computer. So I'm trying to make you the host, but I'm sorry. I have to hold it close because I left my glasses.
hey, there we go.
There she is.
Now she just needs an audience.
Yeah, right.
I know.
I'll be right back.
Okay, there's Susan.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Dr. Greene.
How are you?
Thank you for being with us. Sorry about this technical glitch. We don't understand where it's coming from. We've been Zooming for 2 years.
Oh, you don't have to tell me. I understand the Zoom thing. I've been teaching classes and all of a sudden Zoom just disappears and in the middle of the class and things of that nature. So I understand. I've been there, done that.
Well,
Well,
we
anyway.
appreciate your patience.
Indeed.
Sherry, oh, she did go. I was gonna say, I called Sherry. What happened, as far as we can tell, is somehow the link for the new UU's class was started because Nancy Anderson was trying to log in and she wasn't able to establish a connection, but she probably just closed it up, leaving it on. And so when Charlie called me and I went in to try to log in, it sends a verification code to office at UU Church LC. So I couldn't get the verification code to say, yes, damn it, I really am real and need to log in. But luckily I was able to wake Sherry up from her nap. So we'll have to apologize to Sherry.
Well, that's life and, sometimes it's that way.
Well, I'm hoping some other people will try again.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I don't like to start, make the people who are here wait, but
Well, I think
glitch,
given
I-
the circumstances, it might be best to wait just a little bit. In fact, maybe I'll give Jane Ash a quick call. I'm surprised not to see, and Jan Thompson. Oh, there's Annetta.
Yeah,
If she wants me to call some people, I can.
okay, can you call Jane?
Can I? Oh, I need my computer.
I'll call Shirley Davis.
Jane.
Okay,
Hello.
Yeah.
Are you? Well, Annetta, you look like you're sitting upright, and we've been worried about you. Are you feeling better finally?
You're muted.
Good.
Yes, thank you very much. I think I got over COVID, so
Good.
I was out and about yesterday, so
That's good.
thank you, thank you.
So we were getting started a little late, but we'll see.
maybe 5 more minutes and then,
It would seem to me like you might just go ahead. I don't know if people tried it and it didn't work, do you think they'll actually come back?
I did quite a few times.
You did quite a few times.
Well, I gave up my laptop and Gail was able to get on with hers. As you can see, I'm listed as Gail Trantham, but it took us
Yes.
some doing.
Yeah,
Yes, Gail, you look somewhat different today, but it's good to have you with us.
Well, while we're waiting, I'd like to say to Dr. Greene that I understand she's the new acting director of the Black Studies program at the university.
That is true.
This should be an interesting assignment for you. I'm sure you bring a lot of good experience to that position. I knew the
Well-
very first person to have that position, Dr. Andrew Wall. Do you know-
Dr.
did you-
Andrew
did you know
Wall.
Andrew?
I did. I certainly
Well,
did.
Andrew used to tell the story that he was hired by Don Roush, the provost,
Mhm.
just hired to do the job with no job description. And
Correct.
he said to Dr. Roush, "What is it that you want me to do?" And he
Jan?
said, "I want you to get to know all the students by
We were
name."
wondering if you were having difficulty logging on.
So Dr. Roush told him, I
I'm
want you to
very-
get to
I'm
know
very
all the black
sorry.
students by
And-
name. To which Andrew replied, "How many are there?"
I'm sorry?
And he said, "Well, maybe 15, 20 at the
Okay, thank you.
most." He says, "Learn the names of 15 or 20 people? You got it."
Charlie, was VJ gonna call Jane?
Yes.
Okay. Jan is dealing with a family emergency and will get on as soon as she can.
Okay, great. Great.
Let's see,
And,
Shirley, Dave, did you call Shirley? He's,
I sent her an email. I tried to call her and got some strange disembodied voice, so.
I'll
I
try
sent an
calling
email.
her. I'll try
Well-
calling her.
Well,
now, just to make sure we don't have any more stumbling, Dr. Greene, do you need to be a host to be able to share your screen?
If you just configure, if you go to the green button and click it, and then, wait a minute, the host is disabled. Yeah, I think you will have to make me the host. In order for me
Who
to
is
share.
host right now? Is that you, Dave?
you are, Charlie.
Oh, I am. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know why, but that's who Sherry put. So if you
Well,
go
no, Charlie
to,
he should be the host because he's the MC for this session.
well, but I'll be happy to be the host. That way, I can take care of little stuff like that. Well,
Oh,
you can-
okay. That'll be,
So, but what you have to do is click on the participants list. And when you get a list of the names,
the participants, there's the
yeah,
participant.
okay, here's the list of this. Now it will say, or it should say, that you are the host, but I don't see that. Oh, there we go, VJ, that's why I didn't see it. VJ is
Okay,
host.
okay.
So what you can do is go to Bobbie, and where it says, it should give you a choice there of making Bobbie a host or co-host.
Okay, so I click more
Yeah.
and make co-host.
Yeah.
That will work.
And then if you want to make, after you do that, if you want to make me host instead of you, you may, but I don't think you'll need to do anything from here. Should be all right.
Oh, there's the screen. Wonderful.
The telephone number for Jane in the directory is landline, and it has been disconnected.
Oh,
Does
okay.
anyone have her cell number?
Yeah. Does
Who was she
anybody
trying
have
to
a
call?
cell number for Jane?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give it a try while you start.
I'll go for Jane. I'll go call Jane.
Okay.
Call her. Okay,
I have my phone and her number right here.
okay.
Yeah, but mute yourself before you call. So meanwhile, don't you think, Charlie, that Bobbie could get started?
Yeah, probably. And I think everybody knows, but she's president of NAACP, and she's a prof at the university, and we had a great time at their MLK celebration, and I think it's a great follow-on to that. Go ahead, Dr. Greene.
Well, I am so grateful and so proud of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. And so let me first say thank you for your support, for your invitation, for the use of the facility. You have been quite generous. And so I'm very grateful for your support of the Dona County NAACP. This year's theme, every year the NAACP, the national office, puts out a theme. This year's theme is "This is Power." And then in conjunction with that, the power of us working together, the power to get out the vote, which is critical. And so we have several initiatives that we're working on, clean water, student debt relief, and the midterm elections is of course on everybody's radar. There has been some legislative efforts to try to eliminate some of the voter suppression that's happened in various locations around the country. I believe there's a legislative a lawsuit in Texas. I believe there's also one in Georgia. And so they are very proactive about trying to deal with not only the social issues, but the legal issues as well. We have several states, for example, what happened in Flint, Michigan, they didn't have clean water for quite a while. And now it's the same thing in Mississippi, and funds have been diverted from the water, fixing the water issues. The funds have been diverted to other issues, and so other people and organizations. And so we have ongoing struggles. Much of what we have been fighting since 1909, when the NAACP was founded. Back then it was founded because of the, there were so many lynchings. It was just very troubling for some of the members, you know, some of the people who founded this organization, because the lynchings became unacceptable and outrageous and so prevalent. And so that's when they founded this organization. And of course, in 112 years later, we are fighting, you know, different issues, but we are fighting not necessarily defunding the police, but reforming the police. I wish they'd stop saying defund, because that's a dog whistle, and I think it scares people. And what it is really is to try to reform and work together with law enforcement, not against law enforcement. So I hope that misnomer can be dispelled. Even in the local NAACP here in Las Cruces, we are working to establish a citizens review board, and that citizen police oversight, if you will, that whole citizens review board, the purpose of that is to try to get community input and oversight so that you don't have a 75-year-old woman with dementia who doesn't speak English as her first language and is shot dead by the Las Cruces Police Department within 38 seconds of them, the family calling for help. The police officer was only there 38 seconds. And in that 38 seconds, he pulled his gun and pumped 2 bullets into a 75-year-old woman and killed her. And nobody has been held accountable for that. The officer has not been charged with anything. And I think right there in front of the family that happened. And so we have some concerns. And I believe in 6 months now, we've had 6 killings of unarmed people of color by the Las Cruces Police Department right here in Las Cruces. And it's very disturbing, because I was born and raised here. I'm a native of Las Cruces, born and raised. And I don't recall ever a time when we had issues with law enforcement. In fact, we got along very well with law enforcement through the years. I've always had the chiefs of police, including the current chief of police, Miguel Dominguez, have come and spoken to at our meetings. We've had Jaime, the chief who died of cancer. He was a keynote speaker at one of our events. We've had Chief Gallagher here. We've had lots of good relationships with the police, and we want that to continue, but we cannot stand by and allow innocent people, especially people of color, to be killed by the police without any, without justification. And so we're working on that. We're working on getting out the vote. We had I don't know if any of you were at our last meeting, I believe Jan was there, but we had our county clerk, Dr. Amanda Lopez Amanda Lopez Askin come and speak to us. And she told us about the issues with voter, the poll workers who were being threatened. Her life has been threatened. Security is on high alert. Apparently they're going to be trying to protest or contest elections all over at counties all over the United States. So we're in for a battle in this election. The election deniers are in full force, and they are already trying to undo our democracy. I went to a county commission meeting on June the 9th to receive a proclamation for Juneteenth, and thinking it was business as usual. And those have always been very pleasant. And we, you know, they give us a proclamation, we take the pictures and we say thank you and how wonderful it is that we're partnering, and, you know, the usual things. This one was very different because, first of all, there was standing room only. And I didn't realize that the day of the county commission meeting was the same day that the primary election was supposed to be certified here in Dona County. And so there were people standing room only, one after another, going up claiming that the election, we're trying to steal this election like we stole the presidential election, and we are, you know, we've seen ballots being misused and being stuffed, and the county clerk is unethical and she should be arrested. I mean, there were just a lot of disturbing accusations, and that was just for the primary election. So I can only imagine, and this is pretty much what the county clerk said, the problems that we're going to run into trying to certify the, you know, the peaceful transition of power. And so we're going to have to be extremely vigilant, especially just doing something as simple as voting, as we've always done in the past. It's different. This is a different ballgame now. So the NAACP is fighting in courtrooms across the country to make sure Black voters and people of color have access to the ballot box. We're trying to make sure that students are not overwhelmed with debt, and President Biden has canceled some student loan debt, which I think is a beautiful thing. There are a lot of students at NMSU. And just as you announced earlier, I'm now the interim director of NMSU Black programs. The students are in need. They didn't have anybody to speak up for them. And so I am there. Their facilities have been, we've got new facilities. We've made it beautiful and very comfortable for the students. And we're working on trying to make sure that these students have a good learning experience at the university, and that they, you know, hopefully are engaged. I was at a meeting the other day and I was urging the students to vote. And one of the young women said, "Oh, my vote doesn't count." And I said, well, you know, there's so many issues. There's Roe versus Wade. There is minimum wage. There is housing issue, homeless issues, housing issues, and food insecurities, and all kinds of issues that have a direct a direct impact on you. And so you really have no choice but to vote, because if you don't vote, you're allowing somebody else to make decisions for you. And so I hope that resonated with her, because I found it, you know, and she's not alone. I mean, she's just one that was brave enough to speak out. And so we have a lot of work to do. I am very grateful for the Unitarian Universalist Church. And again, your support has been wonderful. And so if you have been paying attention throughout history, it has been a thing where even the formation of the NAACP was at local churches. And so the relationship with church has been very important. It is still important. And so I appreciate this church for your work, for your activism, and for your just being the beautiful giving congregation that you are. I'm very grateful for that. And I want to say thank you. The members of the branch say thank you. Many of you are members of the local NAACP. Jan has been very supportive, and she's a staunch member, as is Jane Ash. And so we are, and Carol Winkler. So we're very grateful for the partnership with your church. And we look forward to continuing to work together to do the good work. And you know what John Lewis said, to get into what I would like to refer to also as good trouble. I know Jan is about some good trouble as well. And so we, and all of you, I see you shaking your heads. It's a good thing. It is God's work. And I am just one of his servants that wants to do what's right by people who've been disenfranchised. And it's important to me as the president of the NAACP, but just as a woman of color in the United States of America, born and raised here in Las Cruces. My parents were, I mean, I'm from humble beginnings. My parents met in a cotton field, both from Texas, and they both came here for work. And they were, you know, chasing the work as a lot of African Americans did in the 30s and 40s. This was back in the late 1930s when they met. And they met in a cotton field. And 62 years they were married, 9 children, including me. I'm number 7 of 9. And I lose track of how many grandchildren and nieces and nephews that I have. But it was a beautiful bond that they formed. And they had strong relationships with people in this city for decades. And so I feel it's important to follow in their footsteps. I watched them work 12, 14 hours a day, manual labor, domestic labor, that, you know, they didn't make a lot of money. They didn't have health insurance. They did not have sick leave, but they went to work, sick or well. My father worked 6 hours or 6 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day in the rain, sleet, snow, whatever. He was a farmer. And so we had a very good upbringing. We were taken to church on Sunday. We didn't have a choice. We went to church on Sunday, whether we wanted to go or not. It wasn't a debate. It wasn't an option. We went to church. I sang. I've been singing since I was old enough to sing, I believe. And I enjoy it. You know, I led the choir today. That's what I do. And so the foundation, the Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go. And so I'm a firm believer that the foundation and the religious fundamentals and the basic human decency that I had growing up as a child, and the love for everybody, not just people that looked like me, but everybody. My parents had no, they had friends from all different walks of life and all colors. My mother's best friend was one of the McKinney's who owned the Pickwick stores. That was her best friend. And so we've had a great life. And it was from the, you know, an impromptu meeting in a cotton field. And it's led to decades and generations of my family in this city. And my mother specifically said that they moved to New Mexico so that their children could have the opportunity to be children and not Black children or just, you know, African-American children, just children, you know, and I did have that opportunity. And so I want to pay that forward to the people that I run into, the young kids that I'm mentoring now and dealing with. I'm hoping to take a whole busload of children, well, they're not children, they're children to me, but they're college students, but they, you know, they don't like to be called children. So anyway, I'm hoping to take a group of college students to this NAACP state conference, which is at the end of the month. And so, and I've also got students coming from UNM, students coming from Western New Mexico, students coming from Eastern New Mexico to this conference. And we have a keynote speaker who is from Chevron, and she is the Vice President of Equity and Inclusion and Diversity for Chevron. And Chevron is a big time sponsor. it's oil and gas in Hobbs, New Mexico. So, hopefully they will talk about some other alternative energy. I'm hopeful, but no guarantees. But anyway, the bottom line is that it is, I used to say, well, I'd still say this a lot, to whom much is given, much is required. And so I have been given a great deal. I have been fortunate and blessed to have a wonderful upbringing in this city. I am teaching at a university where my mother, in the 60s, she was a cook at New Mexico State University. She did not work as a professor. She didn't have a job in the classroom. And more than likely, back then, she couldn't have gotten a job in the classroom. But fast forward, some 60 years later, and I get the opportunity to be a professor and work in the classroom, not in the kitchen. And so that is a legacy that I am obligated to pay forward. And these young people that I run into now, it is my responsibility as the director, albeit interim director, it is my and as the president of the NAACP, it's my responsibility to help those young people, to hopefully make them think in different ways, and to prioritize and to get an education and to be responsible citizens in 2022. And that's not easy. There's a lot of different peer pressure that these young kids have that we didn't have. I didn't have to worry about automatic weapons, somebody coming to my classroom with an automatic weapon. I didn't have to worry about that. I didn't have to worry about COVID. Didn't really have to worry about credit card debt because, well, we worked and paid as we went. And, so the things that these young people have to contend with is different than what we had to contend with, but still they need to get an education regardless. And so that is important. And my goal is to make sure that I can be a role model, a mentor, and an example of what is possible in not only in the United States, but in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I'm grateful again for Unitarian Universalist Church because your example has been impressive. And I thank you. Yes, Ms. Thompson, you have a question.
Yes, I do, but I'll get to that in a minute. First of all, whoever is president of the branch makes the branch what it is. And it has become a real operating organization with the leadership of Dr. Bobbie Greene. I'm very, very impressed with I can't think of anything that she can't do or won't at least try to do. And it's just been amazing to me. She's a perfect example of the person I want to be. And I keep trying, but I can't keep up with her. Now she wants the branch to be the instigator of a resolution at the national level to eliminate the electoral college, which I think most of us would agree to.
All right, I like the response. It frustrates me that the whole thing of the January 6th, I've been listening to the hearings. I'm amazed actually. And, the committee has done an outstanding job of making a very compelling and strong and almost indisputable case of what has happened, who's involved, and all of those things. A lot of that wouldn't have even occurred if we didn't have to deal with this whole electoral college issue. So, and I know it won't happen probably by the presidential election in 2024, but I think we need to put it on the radar and start talking about it and putting resolutions forward. And so when I go to the national meetings, there are resolutions that all branches from all over the country put forward on clean air, on the body cameras that the police are now required to wear is a direct result of a resolution put forth by the NAACP. I was at that meeting. We voted unanimously almost to start mandating body cameras. And now we do have body cameras, and that gives evidence of, you know, I mean, it's not their word against our word, or it's not debatable because now you have video footage. Even with the video footage, it's very difficult to indict police officers. I think only less than, if not mistaken, maybe 1%, less than 1% of police who shoot unarmed people are actually indicted, even with the cameras. So, but anyway, I digress. Let me just tell you that the resolutions that we put forward are then taken specifically to the Democratic Black Caucus, and then the Democratic Black Caucus is responsible for trying to start enacting legislation, to change it, to make, you know, to submitting it to Congress and things of that nature. So the bottom line is we get it in the right hands, and then they take it forward. And so we're going to put forth the resolution to eliminate the outdated electoral college and go with one person, one vote. You know, it's not lost. I don't think it's lost on any of you that we have had several elections where the popular vote, Hillary Clinton is an example, Al Gore is an example. They won the popular vote and did not win the election. We have 3 Supreme Court justices now because of the president who rushed through one of them right mere weeks before the election, Amy Coney Barrett, and now Roe v. Wade has been overturned. So there's just a lot of things that have occurred that probably wouldn't have occurred if we allowed the popular vote to be the rule of the land. So we're gonna work on that. We're gonna start. I know it's how do you tackle, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So we're gonna write the resolution. I'm gonna have some we do have some very brilliant legal minds on our in our branch. So I'm gonna have them, look at it, make sure that it is legally sound, make sure that it is feasible, and that the arguments are valid. And then I'm going to submit it to the national office and see if we can get at the next meeting, which will be in July of 2023 in Boston. They will put that resolution on the floor. There will be a vote. Hopefully it will be overwhelming. I mean, I think everybody feels that this electoral college, we know what the purpose was originally. And the purpose now, I think, is, it's obsolete. So hopefully we can put that forward. And, the resolutions that they do put forward are very, very powerful. And so this organization is about 300,000 members across the United States, very strong. And
That's never happened.
Oh, is she frozen?
Come on, Bobbie, get back on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
You just froze for a minute.
Oh, I see my internet. There was a little hiccup for a minute. My apologies. Hopefully the technology will cooperate with me. That happens. Sometimes I'm teaching classes with 50 students in the class and they're like, we can't hear you, we can't hear you. So if that happens, please just let me know and we'll do what we can to make sure that we keep going. But anyway, what I was saying was that after the George Floyd murder, which I watched like everybody else, horrified and just completely depressed by it, and people all over the world stood up and said, no, this is unacceptable. People all over the world have been very generous with their donations. So the NAACP has some funds that we can use for voter outreach and for for legal, the legal defense fund is very strong right now, and Lord knows we need it. And so the NAACP is very powerful, and probably the most powerful it's been in its 112-year history. So I'm very happy to be a part of this organization. It's not my grandfather and my grandmother's NAACP. Yes, sir. Do you have a question, Mr. Rice?
Yeah, on a particular issue, you'd mentioned that the police killing of Black people of color here in Las Cruces. Could you comment on comparing, for example, the Las Cruces Police Department versus the Dona County Sheriff Police? I mean, do they have significantly different policies, or is it a matter of numbers? Thank you.
They do have different leadership. They have Sheriff Kim Stewart, who's a friend of mine. She is a strong advocate of community policing. And she has set up some community policing organizational structure. She has a neighborhood watch your neighbor kind of thing. If the neighbor is in need, they want the neighbors, it takes a village. They want the neighbor to contact and seek help and assistance if there's a neighbor that's in need. And that's very different than what is happening with the Las Cruces Police Department. They are opposed to community and police oversight, while the county sheriff's department is open to it and has already implemented it. So they're very different leaderships. We're hoping that we can use Sheriff Stewart's model as an example of something that works. You know, it does work, and it is more involving and inclusive and inviting of the community, as opposed to, you know, keeping the community at bay. There is transparency, I think, in the sheriff's department when there have been some issues, of course, with violence and killings of people and things of that nature. But when there is a situation where there's fatal shooting of a citizen, there's an immediate dialogue, and here's what happened, explanation, here's what happened, here's why, and all of those things, as opposed to the Las Cruces Police Department, who is more interested in keeping things under wraps and not having the transparency. There's a big difference. There was a shooting in August, I believe August 3rd, at the Chevron on Main Street, corner of Main and University, yeah. And a young man was traveling. I guess they just stopped at the gas station to get gas. And the police were called claiming that this young man had stolen a 6-pack of beer and was sitting in the car drinking the beer, which I find a little strange and unlikely. But anyway, the police were called, the police came, and before you know it, that young man was dead. They took the young man away in an unmarked van. The family called the Texas NAACP because they were not able to get any information about their son. The Texas NAACP called the state of Hobbs NAACP, and then of course the president of the state NAACP called me. What's going on in Las Cruces? We hear about this situation. What do you know about it? I tried to get information about it, wasn't able to get information about it. They were one day away from disposing of that young man's body without releasing it to his family. In one more day, that's what would have happened. And so fortunately, the family was able to reach the right people and prevent the disposal of the remains of that young man before they had an opportunity to receive the body and funeralize that young man. And so that was August, 2-3 months ago, August the 3rd, 2 months ago, actually. So when you hear of those kinds of things, and I personally have been asking questions and trying to do the Inspection of Public Records Act and things of that nature, it's very difficult to get information, camera footage and what have you, even the name of the young man. It was difficult to get that. And if you try to look him up and find out what happened, you won't find it. They have been very close-lipped about it. And I believe there's a reason for that. And so that is very different than what happens when there's a fatality in the sheriff's department. So it's kind of apples and oranges. And I think that we are going to have a battle trying to get community oversight and policing. But we have drafted a resolution. We've given it to the city council. They're going to vote on it. I know the mayor is opposed to it. And the city manager, I've talked to the city manager, and I think his heart is in the right place, I believe. But there's some politics involved. And so we're trying to eliminate this horror story that I heard about this young man. That's a terrible situation, and it has no place in our city. And so we just want transparency. That's what we're looking for. Right now, the police are auditing themselves. The Las Cruces Police Department has an auditor, and the auditor is paid $150,000 a year, $75,000 per audit, 2 audits per year, $150,000. But the information that is put in the audit, guess where it comes from? It comes from the Las Cruces Police Department. So they are cherry picking the information that they want to include in the audit. And of course, they're putting themselves in a very positive light. Even the auditor said that there was, we need more transparency in these audits. Even the auditor, one of their findings was that there was a lack of transparency. And so we cannot have the police auditing themselves, apparently. And we're trying to come to, we want to bring them. We don't want to persecute the police. We want to work with the police. At the same time, we want to make sure that there's transparency. There shouldn't be a problem with that, right? I don't think that should be an issue. We just want transparency. We don't want to tell them how to do their job. We don't want their job. Any of you want to be a Las Cruces police officer? No, I don't want to be a Las Cruces police officer. So we don't want to do their job. We know it's a difficult job. We respect them. I have respect for law enforcement. I know there is a need for law enforcement, but at the same time, I think there should be transparency. And we know there's some rogue cops out there. This 1 killing per month for the last 6 months in Las Cruces. But how many of you knew that there was one killing a month? Has been 1 killing a month for the last 6 months. The two of you did. I think because you heard it, Jan, you heard it yesterday at the NAACP meeting. But so that's because they are not letting that information be known. And the people who are getting killed are people of color. Brown and Black people is who is getting killed. That's who's been killed so far. And so that is a problem. I mean, it just is. There's no way to sugarcoat that. There's no way to tiptoe around it. One of the things I think is important, and I said this at the city council meeting, after the Amelia Baca killing, I saw that video. I was heartbroken and it was horrifying. And I saw the police, while the body was still there on the gurney, the family looking over their loved one, their grandmother, their mother, crying, sobbing at what had just happened. And off to the side, you see the Las Cruces police officers, 4 or 5 of them, laughing and joking, business as usual. What are we going to do after we get off work? And showing no compassion for what had just happened. It was horrifying to me to see the lack of compassion question. I saw it on camera. There's no arguing about it. It happened. I saw it. And so that's because I did an inspection of public records request and got the video and saw the video. And so it's crystal clear what happened. And there was a lack of respect for the deceased, for the family, for the horrifying situation that had just occurred. And I think that's a leadership problem.
Right.
I think there's a culture of thinking that it's okay.
You see what I
And
mean about
that's-
Bobbie's competence. She really follows through on everything. And one of the hats that she wears, she's on the board of the police academy, is it, Bobbie?
The New Mexico Law Enforcement Academy.
Yeah.
That is a whole nother eye opener, because I've seen when we get these, it's police misconduct that has been adjudicated. And by the time we see it, of course, the action has already occurred, the infraction has already occurred, the police have already been disciplined, and it is our decision as to whether they will continue to be police officers or not, whether they will remain certified or not. That is our job. And so, there's a backlog. There's so many cases of police misconduct in this state that we cannot keep up with them. First of all, that's a big problem. Second of all, some of the cases that I have seen have been absolutely horrifying. Child rape and abuse of women and theft and misuse of police property and all kinds of heinous, what I call heinous, crimes by officers who are sworn to uphold the law. And so many cases that we can't keep up with them. So we understand the police have a difficult job. We understand that the police are human and they make mistakes. And of course, if it's a simple mistake, a young cop that's made a rookie mistake or something like that, we take that into consideration. There are officers on the board and there are citizens on the board. I'm one of those citizens. And so we're looking at it from, I think, a point of fairness. We want to be fair. But some of the cases that are coming to us are just horrendous. And so I understand the need for oversight. In Albuquerque, Albuquerque was one of the worst countries, one of the worst cities in the country for police shootings, and now it's Las Cruces. So, we need oversight. Yes, sir.
You're muted, Charlie.
Sir. I do that all the time. I understand.
Sorry about that. I want to make sure I understand what you said about the 6 killings in 6 months. Were they all Black killings? And
no, Hispanic and Black.
Oh, Hispanic.
Some were Hispanic,
okay.
Brown and Black.
Gotcha. And were they all committed by the city or some by the county?
I believe these were all LCPD.
Wow. Well, you sure answered
Yeah.
my question.
See, that's what I say. I say wow to that also, And so what was happening in Albuquerque a year ago or so has now moved to Las Cruces. And part of the problem is that when these officers get fired from one city, we don't have a national registry or anything, so that these officers will resign before they get fired. And once they resign, have you ever been fired? They can say no, and they go down the street to Hatch, or they go to Anthony, and they are right back in law enforcement again. That's part of the problem. And so I think one of the things we need is to make sure that when there is an infraction and a law officer is either quits before they are fired, or has a police, there's a misconduct claim, that it can be in a national database so that when they apply for a job somewhere else, that case can be brought up and it's visible, because right now it's not visible. So they can break the law as officers here resign and go down the street and become officers again. That's part of the problem. Yes, Jane. Hello, Jane. It's good to see you.
Hello, my dear. Bobbie, isn't it true that it has been these recent months that moved Las Cruces to the rating? It's my understanding of being having the most fatal police shootings per capita of any city now across the country.
Whoa. It breaks my heart too, but yes, that is true. And that is not what we want Las Cruces to be known for.
No.
You know, I mean, there's some wonderful things happening in Las Cruces that are not being noted because of the dubious distinction of us being number one in police killings of brown and black unarmed people, by the way. So it's not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. And I told them at the city council that we're going to have the hard discussions. We're going to have to do that. It's not pleasant to talk about it. And the go-to response from the chief of police, who was at this city council meeting after the shooting, there was outrage from the public, of course. And his response was, well, we're shorthanded, we're understaffed, and it's a difficult job, and they have, they can be overwhelmed sometimes, and it was, all kinds of excuses, as opposed to saying, we cannot accept and cannot tolerate the killing of a 75-year-old woman with dementia. I didn't hear him say that. I did not hear that. And unless we hear that from our leader, from the leader of the chief of police, we can't hear that. I don't understand why we can't hear that, to be honest with you. And if we cannot hear that from the leader of the chief of police, then we've got to do something different. It's just that simple to me. That family, the taxpayers have paid, foot the bill for those lawsuits. I think they paid $2.75 million for the Baca family. They paid $6 million to the Valenzuela family. And I'm sure there's other millions that are going to be paid. It is the one thing that I found very interesting when I did, as a result of sitting with this group of citizens who are working on this draft, is that the city of Las Cruces is self-insured. Which means that when there is a payout, it trickles down. Simply put, we're paying for it. Citizens are paying that. That's where our tax dollars are going. And quite frankly, I don't want to pay that. I don't want to pay for police misconduct and the killing and the payoff in litigation, millions of dollars of tax money that we could be using for homelessness and all kinds of other the 10 cities that are cropping up in Las Cruces and all the things that we're having to deal with here lately. That money could be gone to much better use than paying off for police killing unarmed people of color. I think that's unacceptable. It just is.
Indeed.
Dave, you have a question?
Yeah, why is the mayor opposed to that? Is it a financial thing that he's concerned that more interest on the part of, better oversight of that police department would incur more money? Is that the mayor's rationale?
I have several opinions, but let me just tell you what he said, because we asked him, we called him, he was at the city council meeting. I mean, at the NAACP meeting, we had an NAACP meeting. We invited him to come. And of course, we asked that question. What is your thoughts on, do you support Community and Citizens Oversight Review Board? He said that he did not, because, and this is what he said, Las Cruces is a small town, and it will be difficult to find people who are not related or family members that could be, that wouldn't be impartial. So he basically said it was the possibility of nepotism was his reason, his rationale for not having police oversight, which I find frankly unmeritorious. Let me put it that way. I find it, I don't think that's a good reason. I think Las Cruces is a big enough city that we can find people who can be open-minded, unbiased, and reasonable in their decision-making when they are looking at issues with regard to police misconduct and police oversight. I think that is an easy thing to do. So I don't buy his reason, frankly. And, you know, Ken and I've known Ken a long time. He's a friend, but I just don't think that passes the smell test. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I would say that if that is the mayor's reasoning, then he would have to oppose all forms of jury trials for any kind of judicial proceeding that required one, civil
There
or
you go.
criminal. It's just,
Yes.
and so you're very politic, and I appreciate that. I would say that the mayor was dishing out BS.
Well, that is the technical term for it. And I don't, you know, I'm trying to be politically correct here, but I agree with you, sir. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And that was, you know, so I think that, you know, I don't know. I have some opinions, as I said before, but I do know that this city of Las Cruces is self-insured, and we are paying through the nose for things that should be avoidable. I mean, you cannot tell me that they couldn't figure out a way to deal with a 75-year-old woman with dementia. That's very cute dog. What's his name?
Susan's been trying to ask a question for a while.
Oh, okay.
My apologies, Susan.
And that's,
How are
is
you?
that- first of all, to answer your question, is that Rufus?
No, this is Brody.
Oh, that's Brody.
All right.
I still don't know your
Excellent.
dog. It's terrible.
All right. Thank you very much
My
for that.
question, yeah, my question, Bobbie, is how can a bunch of gentle, angry white people, how can we help you in bearing witness to this? This is injustice. We stand up for stuff like this. What
You
can we
do.
do? How can
I am
we help you?
I am very proud of you, all of you. What did you say? Gentle, angry white people? I love you. Yes.
Well, we have a song we
I
like
do
to
lo-
sing.
I do-
Yes, we are
I do love
gentle, angry people.
John Lewis called it good trouble.
Yes,
and I
but what can we
believe
do to
that.
help you? You're
Well,
leading
you
this
can
fight.
certainly talk to your city councilors, because we are engaging them. So whoever your city council person is, all 5 of them are women, by the way. And so they are on board, and the resolution is now in their hands. So we need a vote from them in order for it to move forward. And so that would be the first step I would suggest, is talk to your city councilor, tell them that you are aware of this Citizens Review Board draft that has been put in their hands, and that there is a vote forthcoming, and that you would like for them to vote in support of the Police Oversight Citizens Review Board, because the taxpayers are footing the bill for these inappropriate behaviors. And quite frankly, if the taxpayers are footing the bill, then we should have a say. We should have a seat at the table. We should have a say in reviewing, not some auditor from California. By the way, the company's from California, $150,000. I think we could save that money and do something else with it, and let the citizens have some input. Subpoena power we are asking for. Of course, we can always do the public records request, but I tell you, the ones I've done 3 or 4 of them, and every time there's delays, they drag their feet. We can't do it. It's too burdensome. We need more time. We blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of it is to make sure that the temperature comes down and stall. Because when the Amelia Baca case happened, it was public outrage. So they want to slow things down so that people forget, we lose, it goes off the radar, and we're not so angry about it because it happened several months ago and things like that. So they're even though they know they are legally obligated to respond to the request for public records, they can play the games and, oh, well, we need more time. We've got to redact. We've got to review. Why do you need to review the camera when all I want to do is look at it? You have to review what I'm going to look at? No, I think you should just, if I want to look at it and it's available, then, you should just release it. Not redact it and not drag your feet and then all the games that they play. I've seen all the games now and I understand what they're doing. But so we need to have city council to take it forward. We need your support, and you need to talk to your city councilor, show up at the meeting when they have the vote. I'm not sure when it will be, but as soon as I know, I will blast it out, and then show up at the city council meeting and tell them maybe you want to serve on the oversight committee. Maybe step up and say, I would like to be on the committee and review what's been happening and maybe have some input. The union, the FOP is a very strong union, and they have already said that they will not listen or abide by anything that if this committee is formed, this police oversight commission is formed, they will not abide by our recommendations. They don't even know what our recommendations are yet. So I don't, that's a little premature, I would say. But if we have subpoena power and we have the ability to look at the complaints from citizens, which they are now not giving to the auditor, they systematically leave the complaints from citizens out of the audit, which is also a red flag. So if we have the ability to look at the complaints and to understand, exactly what's happened, not a biased version of what happened, but just here is actually what happened. We don't need, to have opinions about it. We need facts. That's what we need. And then based on those facts, the citizens need to be able to make recommendations. If they choose to follow those recommendations or not, that's a whole nother battle we're going to have to fight once we do get this. If we get the commission established, then we're going to have to fight the battle of here, we made this recommendation, and they'll, choose to ignore the recommendation. So that will be the next step, and we will then have to fight that. But, you start with, you got to start somewhere. Jan.
Well, as an angry white person, I would like to make 2 more suggestions of how other angry white people might be allies to the NAACP. First is we are collecting money this quarter for Change for Change, and the recipient will be the NAACP. And the money is going to go largely to assist these young people to become active resistors of injustice.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
this is where the future of our community is. We need to work on that. And the other is to attend the meetings. They're at our church. And, let's get there. The 3rd Saturday at 10 o'clock. The one yesterday and the one in November will be in the great room because our Harvest for Power group is usurping the space that they normally would use in the library. But if you want to know what's going on, and I think a number of you did not know what the NAACP has been up to, that Bobbie informed us of, come to the meetings. She always gets a good speaker from elected officials and just community leaders to come and tell us what they're doing, what they're up to, like the school board, when they were being criticized for
Critical race theory.
Right, critical race theory.
There's that buzzword.
Right. And actually, we'd like them to go even farther, but you know, they took a few steps and got horribly criticized for it. And so, you know, these are the things that happen at those meetings. I recommend that you attend the meetings, and some of us do. I saw that Nancy L. Anderson was there yesterday for the first time. So, you know, we are expanding our groups, and Sarah Thomas and Rabbit Loring have started attending. Shirley Davison and Carol Winkler and I are regulars, and Jane.
Long time
Jane is
members.
a regular.
Yes.
What's that?
Yeah, Jane, and yes, you've been longtime members,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so, you know, we urge more to come and stay informed, so then you'll know how to be better allies.
Thank you for that, and I couldn't agree more, and that's why I love Jen, because she's been a supporter for years, and I appreciate her.
And I know that Bobbie is planning to continue as president, and you know, that just speaks volumes, because we know that the NAACP is in excellent hands. And we
Thank you
know
very
that
much.
Bobbie almost didn't even get her education started, let alone go ahead to get a PhD, because the bus wasn't going to come and get her.
That's true. My mother worked for very influential people. The school bus passed by my house and wouldn't stop for us. So my mother went to one of those influential people who was on the school board and said, you know, how come this bus can't stop for my babies? It passes right by the house, and I want them to be able to get on the bus. And long story short, I was the first African-American child to go to MacArthur Elementary School, because the bus passed right by the house. I'd get on that bus and I'd go to that school. I went to that school, had some wonderful teachers. Oh my God, those teachers changed my life. And so I'm very grateful to my mother for having the wisdom to simply demand, you know, the bus is coming by here. I want this bus to stop and let my kids get on so they can go to school. And it was a better school. And we went there. And because of that, you know, because of the wisdom and the foresight of my mother, who would she argued with Gary Carruthers, the governor, former governor of New Mexico. And when I got the job at New Mexico State, she told Gary Carruthers, who was the dean then, former governor and dean of the business college, she said, if you don't treat my baby right, I'll be back up here to see you. She told the governor that. So there you go. I've had great support from my mother and wisdom, and she was fearless. And I think that's part of where I got my fearlessness, is from her and my father as well. But so we just wanted to live. And my parents just wanted us to get an education. They wanted us to do better than they did. Of course, every parent wants that. But my mother walked the talk. She did the work. And as a cook at NMSU, she had an interaction with Gary Carruthers almost every day. They debated politics while she was cooking for him. And they'd have heated conversations. He's a strong Republican, she's a strong Democrat. So while she's cooking his breakfast burrito, they're arguing politics. While he was a student at NMSU, he went on to be the governor. And years later, she told him, take care of my baby or I'll be back up here to see you. So, those kinds of, you can't make that stuff up.
Right.
But I tell you, it is, my obligation now to take care of those young people at NMSU, because I'm in a position to do so. And I will do what I can to make sure they have a better situation. Yes, sir.
Bobbie, before we go, I want to ask you, are you aware that a very good friend of yours is the patriarch of our church, Mr. Clayton Flowers?
Yeah.
Oh, I talked to Mr. Flowers yesterday.
Yes.
And yes, I am aware. Mr. Flowers is 106, he'll be 107
Right.
on Christmas Day. And I did talk to him. He's getting weaker now. And he said,
Yes.
I talked to him and
Yes,
but
in his during his younger days, he was a pillar of our church. He worked with our youth group. He and his wife, his late wife, Evelyn.
yes.
And
I
I
love
worked with him in
Mr.
recent
Flowers.
days, be sure that he gets an absentee ballot. I do that each election.
He's very politically astute at 107 years, almost 107 years old. He's sharp as a tack.
Yeah.
He, I asked him if he wanted a birthday party this year, and he says, well, it's just, I'm getting weaker and it's hard for me to, because we've been celebrating his birthday every year. The branch has for the last several years, but he says he's getting too weak now, and he doesn't, I tried to arrange transportation where he could have his motorized wheelchair and just use the chairlift, and Dial-A-Ride can take him wherever he wants to go. But we haven't been able to talk him into it yet. So I'm thinking that maybe if he can't, if the mountain won't go to Muhammad, then we will go to him. And so I'm thinking that maybe we'll plan a little celebration for him, and we'll go there, you know, and maybe we can, you know, if it's warm enough, we can do it outside. So we don't give him any infections or anything, and he can sit at the porch and we can celebrate with him and sing happy birthday to him in something like that, at least if he's not feeling strong enough to go out. But I love Mr. Flowers. We've had some wonderful discussions through the years. And like I said, I talked to him just yesterday. He called and, well, he had his caregiver call and say, I want to make my donation. And so I need you to come and pick up the check. And he does that every several months, or, you know, every so often he'll write a check. He wants part of it to go to the food bank and part of it to go to the branch. And that he's adamant about that. He wants to help feed the homeless. So we give it to the Casa Peregrinos, and we put, you know, some of it in the branch, and that's what he wants. He's been doing it for a while without fanfare. He doesn't, I mean, it's unsolicited. He just out of the blue will, you know, have his workers, caregiver call us and tell us, come and get, you know, Mr. Flowers wants you to come and get the check. So I called him yesterday and we talked and had a great time. And so he loves apple pie. So my sister makes an apple pie that will change your life. It's changed my life and added a few pounds, but he loves those apple pies. So every time I go to see him, and as often as I can, I hit my sister up for one of those apple pies. And he's, you know, I love Betty's apple pie. And so I've got an apple pie ready for him, and I'm going to go over there and give, he says he doesn't have much of an appetite anymore, but he'll eat that apple pie. So I'm going to take one over to him. And so, yes, I love Mr. Flowers, and I am very much aware that he's been a strong member of this church. Yes.
I want to thank you very much for this present. Let me tell you, I came into this wondering if we had a local problem. You sure straightened me out. Thank you very much.
Well, sir, you know, it takes a whole village, and it's going to take all of us to try. Those are big problems. They need big solutions, and they need a lot of support. And so I appreciate you. I love you. You stepped up at Juneteenth, and I think 3 tables, and now this donation and the facility. It's been more than, you've gone above and beyond, and I'm very grateful.
Well worth it.
And the branch is grateful. Yes.
Okay.
So thank you.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Next Sunday, we're going to be talking about the 8th principle, and so we hope to see you there. And meanwhile, maybe we can get notices sent out about our NAACP meetings just before they occur, so we can get some attendance.
There you go. I would love that.
Charlie, one more preview of coming attractions. The week after next, we're going to have at the roundtable, our speaker is going to be Jess Spahn, I believe is the pronunciation of her last name. She's the clinical director of the new Dona Rapid Crisis Response Team. That's a resource that was not available to the Baca families. As we all recall, you know, the Baca family called 911 to get assistance with a mental health crisis, and it turned out very, very, very badly. So hopefully with this new resource, and we'll all learn how to access it and what kinds of services they have available, there will be you know, more options available to families going through that type of a crisis.
Okay.
I know of another family who called 911, and the father and the son was beat up by the police, and both of them ended up in jail. for calling 911, asking for help. So it's very needed by the LCPD. So yeah, there's some issues that we've got to take that bull by the horns and try to tame it.
Okay,
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thanks.
God
Al.
bless you.
see you guys later.
God bless you all.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your